Talk to us first about this incredible ride over the last 10 years. I mean, 9 million% is more than any asset I've been able to find, and I've looked for them. What do you think the future of Bitcoin is like?
I think that very easily we could see Bitcoin going up to 50,000 by the end of this year. We have our analysts at Nexo crunching the numbers, doing very substantial research. And it is just a hell of a ride. It's the halving coming up because you know, the rewards for miners are dropping. Last time this happened, Bitcoin rallied 4,000%. And it's been an incredible asset. It's uncorrelated to the overall market. It delivers systematic asymmetric returns. And the only thing that we have seen close to anything like this has been the rise of the US dollar against the Reichmark in the 1920s, where you saw $1 being exchanged for 5 Reichmarks in the early 1920s to $1 being exchanged for 4 billion Reichmarks. Well, so, you know, if it follows this trend, there's a long way to go for Bitcoin.
I mean, I did an experiment where I lived on Bitcoin for a couple weeks back in 2012 when it first hit $1,000, and people thought that price was insane, absolutely ridiculous to pay $1,000 for this digital token. Of course, now we're seeing it trade a little more than 7,000. But it's not any easier now in 2020 to spend Bitcoin on the street than it was back in 2012. It wasn't easy. Why don't you think it's picked up as a method of payment?
Well, that's a very good question. I mean, the initial idea was we're going to pay for coffees with Bitcoin, but obviously that has failed to materialize. I think the narrative now that is much more persuasive is that Bitcoin is the new gold. And we see confirmation, like with the turmoil that we have this morning, Bitcoin is rallying on par with gold. And, you know, in terms just of sheer price action, if Bitcoin is the new gold and it just captures just like 10% of the total market cap of gold, which is around 8-9 trillion, goes up to $1 trillion, that will be Bitcoin at $50,000. So you got to stop thinking in terms of whole Bitcoins and start thinking of Satoshis, because that will be what most people will be able to afford. Just Satoshis, not a whole Bitcoin. There's only 21 million to go around. There are more millionaires in the world.
So a Satoshi is 1/8 of a Bitcoin?
Exactly, yeah.
Just the Satoshi is what you would compare to a cent when you're talking about $1, Anna.
Yeah, or a pence here in London. Good morning to you, Antoni. Let me ask you what you expect from central banks here. We heard from the ECB's Jens Weidmann. He said there's no reason for the ECB to develop its own digital currency. To what extent do you expect to see central banks engaging with digital currency as we go into the next decade?
Yeah, I think that that's definitely going to be the predominant topic of this year and then the entire decade. I think for the first time ever, we're seeing China questioning the dominance of the U.S. in terms of technological advance. So, you know, while the U.S. are in a state of hibernation thinking, should we allow Libra, which is not even a currency, it's backed by a basket of existing currencies, you see China going full steam ahead with a digitized yuan, which is incredible. This will, you know, revolutionize the way we bank and the way that it will question the supremacy of the almighty dollar, and that is something that's got me super excited, and everyone at Nexo as well, because these are incredible times we live in. This gives us the mechanism to bypass the whole arsenal of sanctions, of intermediary banks, which give a lot of the power of the U.S. today, and that is being questioned and challenged as we speak right now.
Antoni, you do, if I'm not mistaken, about $9-10 million worth of volume a day in trading, and apparently, what's the deal? I can use a debit card from Nexo and then borrow money backed by the crypto that I have with you?
A couple of things. We are a banking institution providing banking services for the blockchain space. Our bread and butter is lending. So you come with your Bitcoin to us, you deposit it, and you get an instant credit line backed by your crypto. That way you can spend its value without actually having to sell that crypto. A great strategy for the past decade, I believe. So it will be going forward. So So yeah, and you got the MasterCard, the Nexo MasterCard, which you can use and spend. You can withdraw it to your bank. It's efficiency across the board. And we also have an interesting bearing product which allows you to earn up to 8% on your idle assets, whatever they might be.